The life and death of Queen Elizabeth II were both noteworthy. Who else in the world could elicit such an international response? Flags were at half-staff across Europe, Canada, and the United States. Commonwealth countries were united in their time of public mourning. Brazil proclaimed 3 national days of mourning. The Prime Minister of Australia sobbed on television. Jamaica declared 12 days of public condolences and tributes. The death of the Queen prompted an emotional and convincing pledge of friendship from French President Emmanuel Macron to Britain and the British people, as well as a public expression of sympathy from Sinn Féin in the Irish Republic. Obviously, a multitude of other countries followed suit. One question that people are wondering is who will inherit her money now that she has passed away. In this video, we'll be taking an in-depth look into how her fortune will be dispersed. Stay tuned till the end because our last point will make you think. And make sure to subscribe and like the video so that you can learn how to achieve financial freedom. Queen Elizabeth II was a very wealthy woman. She owned Balmoral Castle, which valued at a little over $115 million, and her country house in Sandringham, which is valued at $57.6 million. Some of the royal collections belong to the Queen, including a stamp collection started by King George V and her stable of horses, which would have earned her more than $8 million over the years. The renowned crown jewels, the symbolic property of the Queen, valued at around $3.4 billion. Prince Anne, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward, 3 of the Queen's children, will all inherit a portion of their late mother's inheritance. Prior to his removal from public life as a result of his suspected participation in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking scandal, Prince Andrew was long considered his mother's favourite son. It is unknown at this time whether or not he will get the same amount as his siblings. At the very least, he may inherit Elizabeth's adored pets. A spokeswoman at the palace said that the famed corgis will be given to Prince Andrew and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. The Queen possessed 3 dogs at the time of her passing, 2 young corgis called Muick and Sandy, and 1 dog named Candy. A source close to Andrew informed the public that Muick and Sandy will reside with the Duke of York and his ex-wife Sarah, Duchess of York, at the Royal Lodge near Windsor Castle. It is uncertain who will take Candy. It was the Duchess Sarah Ferguson who discovered the pups in the first place and presented them to Her Majesty. Who will receive Queen Elizabeth's private money after her death? After the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles will inherit not just the crown, but also her private riches free of inheritance tax. According to sources, the Queen was worth around $500 million, an increase of $5 million over the previous year. British monarchs are not obligated to disclose their private income. The majority of the deceased monarch's personal riches will pass to Charles in its entirety, with no portion going to the British government. The monarchy as an institution holds the true royal riches, including Crown estate properties, the royal collection of art and jewellery, official residences, and the royal archives. Therefore, they will only be transferred to Charles in trust. Similarly, the crown jewels, believed to be valued at least $3.4 billion, only symbolically belong to the Queen and were given to her successor. The Queen's private riches will be added to Charles' fortune, which CelebrityNetWorth.com estimates to be over $100 million. The Sunday Times said that Elizabeth's late husband, Prince Philip, left a relatively modest inheritance worth $11.4 million, comprising an art collection of about 3,000 pieces, the majority of which were gifted to relatives and friends. The court ordered his will to remain sealed for 90 years in 2021. As King Charles inherits the Duchy of Lancaster, a private domain consisting of economic, agricultural, and residential assets that have been possessed by the monarch since the Middle Ages. The monarch is permitted to spend its revenue and does so primarily to cover governmental expenses. In the fiscal year 2021 to 2022, it generated a surplus of $27,400,000. On the other hand, Charles will lose the Duchy of Cornwall, a southwest England private estate. The duchy, which was established in 1337 by Edward III for his son and heir, Prince Edward, will pass to Charles' oldest son, Prince William, who is currently the heir apparent. In accordance with an agreement going back to 1760, Charles will also receive the yearly sovereign grant from the UK Treasury, which is equal to 15% of the revenues from the Crown estate. The sovereign grant pays for the monarch's and other senior members of the royal family's official obligations, including the wages of their servants and the maintenance of royal buildings. In 2021 to 2022, the budget was set at $98.5 million, or $1.50 per inhabitant in the United Kingdom, and included funds for the refurbishment of Buckingham Palace. The portfolio of the Crown Estate consists of commercial and retail assets, including excellent sites in downtown London, as well as rural and coastal property throughout the nation and the waterways of England and Wales. This makes it one of the largest real estate empires in Europe, with significant business interests in areas like the development of offshore wind power production. In the fiscal year ending in March 2022, the company's net sales profit increased from $307.4 million in 2020 to 2021 to $356.9 million. The inheritance tax in the United Kingdom is 40% on estates worth more than $371,000. The future king will not, however, be required to pay inheritance tax on the personal fortune he would inherit from his mother, according to 1993 regulations. Those assets transferred from a monarch or monarch's consort to the next monarch are exempt. The restrictions are created to prevent the private riches of the royals from being wiped away if a series of kings died in rapid succession and their estate was reduced by 40% each time. The guidelines, which were established in a 2013 government memorandum of understanding, also guarantee that the monarch has his or her own private funds and is thus financially independent of the state. Prince William has just inherited a 685-year-old $1 billion estate. Wills of royals are never made public. Consequently, the majority of the Queen's personal riches after her death will remain a family secret. The line of succession makes Prince William, who is now first in line to the throne, very wealthy. The future king will receive from his father the exclusive Duchy of Cornwall estate. The majority of the duchy's over 140,000-acre portfolio of land and property is located in southwest England. It is uncertain if Elizabeth's death at age 96 will significantly alter the course Harry and Meghan have started to take in California. In his inaugural speech to the country, King Charles III endorsed their decision, saying that he would like to convey his admiration for Harry and Meghan as they continue to construct their life abroad. How will things change with Charles III being king? That is to be determined. Queen Elizabeth was a very popular and loved woman all around the world, even for people who are not monarchists. Human beings long for stability and predictability. They prefer steadiness. Queen Elizabeth symbolized that to people. She was someone whom most individuals grew up watching and who had a consistent presence in Britain. Since she was queen for 70 years, even people's parents and grandparents grew up watching her. It was through her that they saw history unfold. Consequently, this DNA kind of passes along. It was astonishing, particularly in her latter years, the physical power that she displayed, the picture of strength that she portrayed when individuals saw her with her radiant grin, meeting as many people as she could, whether they were diplomats or commoners who were invited to events at Buckingham Palace. She would recognize them and have a conversation with them. She engaged in small talk. People hadn't seen her use her cane until the very end of her life. She may have spent a lot of time in her room feeling ill, but no one knew that. She gave no indication of it. Time will tell whether Charles III will garner the same kind of trust and give people the same feeling of stability as his mother. And I believe this has penetrated so deeply into our minds due to the fact that one lady in England had the world observe her in this manner and provide us with constancy. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to find out more ways you can become financially independent.